The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.
Wrestling to the Max Smackdown Review.
Hello and welcome to the Wrestling to the Max WWE Smackdown Live Review for February 21st, 2017. And with me today, not only do we have Mr. Paul Leazar,
Heyo.
but we also have Mr. Gary Vaughn. So the whole crew is all together. Always nice.
I'm glad to be here. Let's do this thing.
Yeah, let's do it. So, I will admit, first off, to be transparent, that these guys watched a heck of a lot more SmackDown than I did, so they're going to do the majority of the speaking here, as I had to be on the phone with Comcast to no avail. All I got was, well, you need to learn how to set parental controls, because Anaya has figured out how to mess with the remote, and she bought Trolls. Cost me $6, and then lo and behold, the same day, my mom shows up with the DVD of Trolls. What a waste that is! And then for like the fourth time in a row, I've had to call T-Mobile to switch over my. T-Mobile makes you pay monthly payments on your phone. You don't just pay it outright. So for about 2 months now since I switched over to a new account, I've tried to get them to switch over my monthly payments because I keep getting this bill of $500 that they want me to pay for the phone. I was like, okay, I'm getting really tired of having to call you guys to do the same thing over and over. So I had to yell at them for an hour. Some of my 2 hours of supposed to be watching SmackDown was spent yelling at people instead. Wonderful.
Isn't it pleasant having kids like that? My daughter bought Amazon Prime. So,
oh, really?
Yeah.
Did
so
you get
we didn't
get
have
that
it.
Credited?
Yeah, we just kept it. Amanda wanted it anyway, but
Oh, nice.
it's still, I can blame my daughter for it. But yes, we kept it. So
This accident is seeming mighty on purpose, Gary.
Yeah, right? Exactly.
maybe my wife actually planned this all along and blamed it on the kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know how that goes, right?
Yeah.
I mean, luckily I'd already gotten. She'd done that a couple of times. They credited to me before, but they're like, "Yeah, we can't give you every time your kid messes up." So I was like, "Oh, great!" So I get $10 extra I got to pay. That, whatever. So let's talk about this SmackDown show, which started with Daniel Bryan coming out to. As the announcers were talking about the big battle royal that's supposed to happen on this show, on Talking Smack, Naomi mentioned, and I think she did mention in the promo with Alexa last week, that she was injured, but they really made it seem like the injury wasn't a big deal or whatever. Then we find out that Naomi's injury bug strikes again. My goodness. This woman, I feel bad for her, but it's just like, jeez, at some points it's almost like when you get into other sports where it's like, damn, you just are really unlucky when it comes to getting hurt at the wrong time, every single time. Another unfortunate event for Naomi here. So the title is vacated, much to the dismay of several people in our chat, and I saw it on Twitter too, of people complaining about why they have to strip her the title and everything. And I've noticed this as a very consistent thing since the brand split, and Daniel Bryan brought it up on Talking Smack as well. He brought it up to the Usos, having your husband there. I bet if American Alpha got hurt, or one of the American Alpha guys got hurt, you would want them to be stripped of the titles, right? Well, They were quick to say yes to that, but when your wife's getting hurt, you don't want that to happen. But I think they've been fair in that, okay, you're going to be out for a while, you're not going to be champion. So, especially being in WrestleMania time, it doesn't really make sense for that to be let's not have our title be represented by somebody. But either way, they tried to renew the rivalry between Becky Lynch and Alexa Bliss to basically make it for, what's this, for the title?
It was for the title.
Yes, sir.
So Alexa Bliss becomes champion again. 2-time SmackDown Women's Champion Alexa Bliss. That's the first ever 2-time SmackDown Women's Champion, right?
Yes.
So there you go. Alexa Bliss gets that honor, and we're back to being blissed every time she comes out and wearing that blue and white. But once again, not the match we get is kind of good, okay, but nothing out of this world.
Yeah, and it's kind of what you expect, I think, especially the way Alexa Bliss has kind of went throughout, this whole run, of course, with Becky Lynch in the first place and Naomi. It's always about cheating, finding a way to sneak out a victory, and that's kind of the way this worked out, right? It's a quick roll up, and it's just the way she does things, but that's fine. And I kind of want to say a quote that we don't hear often because the guy wasn't on Monday Night Raw, so I'm going to say Alexa Bliss is champion again. Drink it in, man. It feels good. It feels like things are whole again. And nothing against Naomi. She's fine. She did. It was more of the you're happy for her, but on the other hand, I've said this before, even on this SmackDown review show. I never felt like it was a strong champion. I never really believed it was something that's exciting going to WrestleMania. All you had on that was she's a hometown girl. She's going to have her title walking in as a hometown. That's all she had. She didn't have anything else. I think with Alexa Bliss, you come in with a little bit more of a well-rounded package here.
To be fair, they were starting to establish that, last week, that it was beyond that, and then, she gets hurt.
They may be trying to establish it. Just for me, maybe not for you guys, but just for me, the establishment was so weak that I didn't even notice it.
I mean, it's kind of hard when you have the match where you win the belt and then suddenly you can't work anymore. Like, it's hard to get something going after that. So, I feel like it's wrong to say she has an injury bug, too, because the last time she got hurt before WrestleMania and she was supposed to win the title, Oksana dropped her knee on her face. That was not her fault.
Well, I mean, it's not like, the sports guys just, when a guy gets tackled and he tears something, it's his fault either. It just happens, right? I mean, so... not everybody has a Seth Rollins where you're running, or a Triple H, you're running and your knee gives out or whatever. A lot of times the injury is caused by somebody else. It's unfortunate, but it just, every time for Naomi, it's like, damn, come on now. This sucks. Just terrible bad luck for her.
I feel like injury bug is just a poor term to call it, because I think that's been her only other major injury is the broken orbital bone from Oksana dropping her knee on her.
I think she had something with her knee before. I think when they were first giving her a push that derailed that too.
Was that during the heel run?
I think that might have been it. Yeah, she got hurt during that too. Mm-hmm. So, it's weird, but this would not be the only. Oh, great! I think that's not good. My computer decided it wanted to freeze. Well, not the. Thankfully, this thing runs off the desktop, so I don't have to worry about when the internet decides it wants to be weird. But that's not the only women's action we would have on this show, because if you remember from last week, the big match that was made was the match that we'd kind of been waiting for, is the Nikki, Bella, and Natalya Falls Count Anywhere match. And, Nikki says that she was out to prove that she's more than just a pretty face. And they had a good match here, much better than the one on the pay-per-view. basically getting to slam each other into stuff. Natalya eats a mirror. I mean, pretty cool to see, the women just kind of going out there and letting it all hang out to the point where Maurice gets hurt, and Maurice goes with a freaking stick or kendo stick or a baseball bat and just
It's a pipe.
whack
Yeah, it's pipe.
a pipe and whacks Nikki with it a bunch of times to the point where Miz has to pull her away. Ooh.
I don't know about you guys, but I felt like the finish was a little weak. Not from the attack, because I thought the attack was fine, but for Natty to just sort of walk over and pin her after everything else they had done to each other, I kind of would have liked one more move. But that's a small thing, I think. Everything else I thought was good. Other than the very loud and obvious calls of Nikki after the frickin' kick spot off the barriers. Like, the camera was in a poor place to begin with, but they were not trying to hide it at all about how they were talking to each other. So that's another gripe of mine. But this is still, it was good. This feels like something that they needed to have, and especially Natty. I think she really needed to win big here, and you can have Nikki move on to do other stuff. And with what happened in the women's title match, I don't know what you're necessarily going to do with Natalya now, unless you're going to have her start getting in on the Mean Girl thing against Becky and just continually stack the deck against her to have the chase go longer.
Yeah, I'm kind of right there with you on the Natalya thing. You just don't know at this point where her next path will take her. And let's be honest, until now, they've had her kind of in the background, and maybe she kind of shuffles back to that place where she came from.
Mm-hmm.
But with the rest of this group, you see the picture is now clear. You have the opportunity to kind of really get that clear picture of now, and we'll talk about this later too, of what's going to be happening with WrestleMania, especially with these two ladies, and Nikki and Maurice. And the one thing I will say, and I kind of agree with Paul on the finish of the match, because they put themselves through a lot of hell in this match, both Nikki and Natalya, but it's just like so underwhelming just because there was a attack for Natalya just to pin her right there. I really wish, if they were going to do that, I wish that they would have had Maurice define the places that she was going to hit. Now, I would have to watch this again. I'll be honest with you. I've only watched it the one time. I didn't rewind it. But if she would have hit, maybe Nikki in the head. This is a prop pipe, by the way, people. And if it's not, I get it.
Well, but they're not going to have her hit her in the head.
Well, I know, or in the neck. Let's just say the neck. Somewhere where they can make it like, oh, she's incapacitated. Like where she cannot move. Because that's what it looked like here. She looked like she was knocked out. And the places that I saw her get hit, it did not appear that would knock you out. It just makes you in pain.
Yeah,
and
it's just back and stomach, I think, which is the usual go-to places for weapons.
And how you sell that is you roll around in pain.
Mm-hmm.
Nikki did none of those things. She acted like she was knocked out. I think that there's just
but how many times have we seen guys get hit with chairs in the back and they stay down and they don't move?
Yeah, but I think when it comes to a chair, it's a bigger piece of equipment. I can believe a chair because when they do let's just say they do a shot on the back, okay? I almost think to myself, man, it looked like it came pretty close to that guy's head. Like, that chair shot looked pretty real. Like, not real, but you know what I mean? It looked like it got neck, head, and back at times, the way they do the chair shots. A piece of pipe is a little different. It's more of a finesse thing. You've got to get it at the right points. And I know we're nitpicking here, but I just kind of felt like they should have had another move. I really wish Natalya would have at least done another finisher. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, cause we had the Alabama Slam on the announce table from Nikki on the Natty. That there were big spots in this, and for her to just sort of fall to a pipe attack, it felt weak to me.
Just that final nail in the coffin.
Mm-hmm.
I think that works a little bit better. But you know what? This is nitpicking. At the end of this whole thing, you get a clearer picture, and I'm okay with that. It's just something I didn't like.
I will say that they're fighting, and that you're not going to walk up to her, pick her up, make it harder for yourself, and do another move when you have the ability to just walk over and pin her.
Put her in the sharpshooter for God's sakes. Then I don't care. Just something else. Like it was.
Yeah.
It feels so weak. If you go back and watch,
I'd agree with you with that. That she could have done that just to add insult to injury. You know.
Yeah. It feels weak.
I have a feeling that
Kevin
it's like what. I have a feeling it's like what you said, Gary. They're trying to make it seem more like she was knocked out because then it would even been probably hard for her to do the sharpshooter because Nikki's dead weight at that point. So.
Yeah,
you know.
I think of Kevin Owens. We talked about this on our Monday Night Raw review. Kevin Owens goes and basically kills Sami Zayn after he was destroyed, right, by Samoa Joe. They should have just took a page out of that book. I think we'd all be happier. But that's fine. This is the way they chose to do this.
All right. Well, there you have it. Seems like between what happens here and what you get in the other main match on the show, they have put the wheels in motion for that Nikki, John Cena, and Miz and Maurice match, especially with John Cena now being the guest on Miz TV next week. So, basically this is a 10-man battle royal here to decide who's going to be the new number one contender. It seems like this was actually entertaining compared to a lot of battle royals. The problem is, though, they tried to do the double finish thing, and Lord, this did not come off well at all. But they went ahead and decided to act like nobody saw it, and they're going to go with their planned Luke Harper and AJ Styles match because there was supposed to be a, there's supposed to be a double fall here.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I mean, I like that they're doing this whole Rumble type thing here to kind of the number one contender against Bray Wyatt. I think it's something that's actually should be exciting. You got a lot of your main stars here, a lot of the guys that deserve a shot at that title. The one thing I'll say, though, is they did a decent job of, continuing the inner feuds of these guys. Of course, Dolph Ziggler, you saw that whole thing with he eliminates Kalisto, and then, Cruz eliminates Ziggler, then all that, and you have guys jump back in and eliminate. I know Baron Corbin was eliminated, I think, by the Ambrose. I can't remember, but it was the whole thing. But at the end of this, though, with this, draw, as we'll call it, they didn't do a camera shot that was really going to show you that draw. At least I'd have to maybe watch it again, but when I first saw it, I was like, well, I don't know. I didn't really get a chance to see whose feet touched first or anything, so you could just lie to me and I would have to believe you. It didn't look exactly the
WWE
cleanest.
is the king of lying to you, so it's okay.
Yeah, it's a tough science to do that type of thing anyway, but I just think it's kind of funny. You'd think they'd have a better camera angle for that. At the end of this, though, you get what you expect, I think, because you didn't really feel like at the end of this that AJ was going to be looking bad, and I don't think same for the Harper. I think it adds a little bit more to this. You got to stretch this out going into WrestleMania, right? So I think that kind of helps to stretch out, if nothing else, a week longer.
First things first, they did a lot of brief little backstage promos that are a real throwback to older Royal Rumble match builds, and I really appreciated that because everybody got to get in their little piece about why they want to win or what they're after, and some of it was feud focused, some of it was I just want a main event and all these other things. It was really, really nice touch there. I thought the battle.
My favorite one was Mojo. I just want to say that. I think Mojo. It's weird, but I think Mojo did a good job, and I was a little bit taken aback because I did not expect Mojo to do that good of a job. I feel like he did fine. I was kind of happy. I kind of rooted for him a little bit, even though he was the first eliminated.
I think most of them were good. The only one I had a little bit of a problem with was Dolph's, and that's just because he seemed so stiff doing it. He wasn't his usual self, and not to mention the breaking the glass with the super kick thing just looked really fake.
It was so lame. That looked like something. That looked like something that somebody just filmed in an indie promotion, and it was just like, hey, we had the barrel equipment if we can find.
Or it's like he just randomly did it, and they decided to keep it in there.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, it is kind of silly, and I know I'm sorry to cut you off, Paul. I just want to talk about this while you're talking about it, but the Kalisto one. That one drove me crazy too.
But he talked about Lucha stuff again.
Well, he talked about everybody's gonna be sharing Lucha. It just felt so fifth grade. I just felt.
Well, that's all he's been.
I know, but man, I mean, Mojo has been so silly and so corny and hokey, and they actually made me root for the guy just because the way he kind of presented. He was serious. This is a chance to go for the world title, and then you just have Kalisto over there going Lucha, and I'm like, come on. But anyway, that's just me.
I'll say that it's one of his better promos, but against the work that he's done, it's not hard to do that.
Yeah.
I thought Apollo's was real nice too. If we're gonna expand on this a little more, like he had a little bit of fire in him, and that was all real appreciated and everything. So, I thought most of them were good. Yeah, I mean there are a few stinkers, but the match itself I thought was good. Like Gary said, you hit on all the feuds. You have Ambrose and Corbin. Cena and Miz are back at it again with Miz coming in after Cena eliminates him to throw him back out. And I will say it's a real nice touch that they did on Talking Smack too, where I didn't put it together before, but Sean, you kept talking about a proxy for Daniel Bryan against the Miz. He is in that technically family relationship thing there between the Bellas and Cena himself now through all the marriages, so or relationships or whatever you know. So there's that sort of stand-in you have there. To work with that going forward, and then I think everything else is good. I understand the finish because just to have Harper come in and win might seem like too much too soon for some people, and they want to sort of give him some stronger wins. And if he beats AJ next week, I think that's a really good one. But they really should have tried to do something else because Harper suplexes Styles to the floor to win, essentially. In a suplex, the guy you're suplexing is going to hit first. That's how it works. And Styles is miles ahead of Harper hitting the floor. Like, it's obvious, even from the camera angle they give you. And it was a very, very poor way to end what was a very, very good Battle Royal.
Yeah.
Well, that kind of stinks. But, going back to your previous thing, I wonder if, if Cena, I don't know, I mean, Cena has contemplated on Total Divas before about actually marrying Nikki, saying he'll never broach the part about having kids, especially now that he's doing Hollywood and other kind of stuff that will still make him be where he's not at home. But he did say that he would really think about marrying her. So I wonder if he's really made that decision. I wonder if WWE kind of, pushes him a little bit to go, hey, what about if after your match with Nikki at WrestleMania you kind of pop the question there?
Oh, boy.
Just to kind of...
He is a company man.
They could always have another one later or something like that, but, I mean...
or
maybe he does it as a surprise some other time, before then, and they just kind of do the one on video for everybody at WrestleMania. I could totally see them doing something corny like that, but.
Oh yeah, I can too, and like I said, I mean, Cena's a company man. I mean, I think if they told him to marry Dolph Ziggler, he'd be game. Let's do it tomorrow. He's like, oh, whatever you want, Vince. I'm gonna do it. And okay, yes sir. So
let's go marry Dolph Ziggler tomorrow. All right.
I mean, you never know. I mean, eventually.
What if Dolph Ziggler doesn't want to get married to John Cena tomorrow?
Yeah, I don't know, but I think he don't have much of a choice when it comes to Vince. So, but yeah, no, I actually kind of like that though, Sean. I'm glad you brought that up because I mean, in all seriousness, it would make sense, and if John Cena really feels that way, and he really, this is a good time, I'm sure it would be something entertaining to add to, his some real life stuff. So I think it's cool. I wouldn't have a problem with it at all.
I mean, Cena's character is pretty corny, so.
Yeah.
It's true.
Can't lie. And, I know we're kind of jumping around here, but I do want to say, I was a little afraid to say it because, I didn't see I saw the ending here, but I was like, well, maybe I didn't catch it right. Maybe maybe I missed something, but I was kind of with Paul in the ending here because I thought to myself, AJ should have hit first clearly.
Mhm.
And then I started questioning myself, and I started questioning the rules. Well, maybe the rules state that, if you're both off your feet, no matter what, I just couldn't figure it out. And I thought that just doesn't. And I thought to myself, well, maybe that's why the camera angle they gave us, they wanted to hide it. They knew what they were going to do or something. So you could tell definitely AJ hit first, but I got to give him credit. The plan is smart, even if it didn't actually work out the right way when it comes to landing. The plan is smart to put that feud off and kind of give it a little bit more.
This
So.
obviously, I think, means we're getting a triple threat for the title then.
AJ in there too, or
No, Luke Harper, Orton, and Wyatt.
they didn't do a lot to really set up whether they were going to do anything with Randy going forward, other than just the quick little promos that Wyatt gave about how.
Well, I think they want to keep that a mystery, though. They don't want Randy Orton kind of lurking and.
I'm with you. I was explaining to the people that
Sorry.
I was doing my job. They didn't do anything to really suggest that, but I think you're absolutely right. They're going to do a triple threat. We just have to find either how they're going to get there with Randy in the turn, or if they're because I wouldn't be surprised if they don't even use them and they just go to WrestleMania with just straight up Luke and Bray, and Randy ends up costing Bray the championship or something like that. And I mean, I'm sure this is a total fantasy situation, no matter what I'm thinking here, but that would be another great way to turn and break up the family too. Is just to have Randy cost Bray the championship at Mania on the biggest stage.
Mm-hmm.
I could see it where, Harper keeps bugging Wyatt and keeps maybe Harper keeps attacking Wyatt or something like that, and Orton just finally thinks that the best way to protect Bray Wyatt is to put himself in the match, right? And say, okay, well, since I need to make sure that Bray is going to win, right? Then I'm going to be there to keep Harper from being the winner, and then he ends up costing Bray the title there by an accident or something like that, or on purpose or whatever. Or, the whole on purpose that I'm going to make it seem like it's an accident thing, and then on SmackDown he says the real intentions or whatever. There's a bunch of ways they can go about it, just like we've said about this storyline the whole time, is they've left themselves open for many interpretations, and it's nice that they have a storyline like that. The only thing we haven't talked about here is the small moment for the tag team champions. They beat Breezango.
Yeah.
And then the Usos show up again to kind of intimidate them, and the Usos are kind of like, you guys are more worried about the Usos. You're fearing the Usos. That's why you don't want to wrestle us right now. So I think it's good. They're kind of the only formidable tag team they got right now. So you got to go with that. And having them run through the other tag teams again is really putting those guys down, but I don't really know what you can do at this point.
I'm with you, and I think this really just sort of shows off how flimsy everything is on SmackDown at times, and we talk about how great a job they do with what they got all the time, but they need some more tag teams. They could use a couple more ladies on the show too, and I mean, there are teams waiting in NXT to come up, and I still think it's very possible we end up seeing the Revival over here. We might even get Asuka over here on SmackDown.
Mm-hmm. Definitely needed. I mean, that would definitely bolster the ranks.
I would say that SmackDown does pretty well with the women and keeping them all involved and stuff. Something I don't know that you can say for Raw if you didn't have them all involved in the same feud. you know. So I would say the only thing that's lacking is with WWE in general is the tag teams, and that's been lacking for a long time anyway. Other than, oh, well, New Day got popular, so everybody kind of forgot about it. But right now, the way American Alpha is being booked is way better than the way they're booking Anderson and Gallows. So,
Yeah.
I mean, at least they're not having, I guess, Dean Ambrose or Baron Corbin run through, American Alpha just because he can or something.
Yeah, I mean that's very true. And American Alpha, once again, you guys just pointed out. I mean, the way that they are perceived and the way this whole thing has worked out has been based on their tag team opponents, and really, it's not been that great. And you kind of feel bummed out about that because I think we all like American Alpha, and we hope for good things for them. I think the Usos, you said it, Sean, probably the best thing that could be when it comes to the rest of the opponents they could have. And I kind of like the Usos promo here. I think that was pretty decent here. I felt like it was believable. I felt like, a lot more aggression from those guys. So, they kind of did their whole mad dogging thing, going out there and speaking some hateful speech. But at the end of this, I mean, I kind of feel like, it's something I want to pay attention to, even though, man, the tag teams are kind of hard to pay attention to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree with the promo and everything too. I'm these guys can have good matches with each other. It's not like what we're getting here is bad. It's just not overly interesting. And to be fair, we had a pretty hot crowd here for SmackDown tonight too, and they were into a lot of things I wasn't expecting them to be into. And they seem to dig both the promo as well as the short little squash that American Alpha got. So it was good on them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that covers SmackDown. That's everything that was on the show. It was one of these that it was all focused on certain things, and they delivered in varying degrees. So, what do you guys think on rating for the show?
I enjoyed SmackDown. It flew by very quickly. The women's Falls Count Anywhere match was very good. The Battle Royal was very good, despite a very crappy finish that kind of put the sour note on the ending of it all. But everything else is it's all building towards WrestleMania, and this is what SmackDown does so much better than Raw, is that they continue to build everything no matter what every week. It's consistent, and that's kind of why I like Blue better right now. So I'm going. I think I'm gonna go 7.5 range, somewhere in there.
Yeah, I think a 7 is fair for me. I think that they had, like Paul just pointed out, a lot of good progression in what they're trying to do here. You got a lot clearer picture of a lot of these feuds. So I'm pretty happy with that. And, it's for the also opportunity that, you do have, a situation where now you kind of get a chance to get intrigued by a few of these things by proxy of what they did tonight. So I'm pretty happy with it. I think a 7 is good. And plus, Alexa Bliss won the title. You got to give him some props.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, very true on that. Well, that'll do it for our SmackDown Live review for this week. Next week will just be another week closer to WrestleMania, and of course we'll get to figure out who will be the number one contender if all things go well between AJ and Luke Harper. And I love that AJ forgets what, that SmackDown has to go off at a certain time, and he complains about that on Talking Smack. It's like, hey, we could have had the match right then. Daniel Bryan's like, hello, we're live. We got to end in 2 hours. But, of course, you can always subscribe to, if you liked what you heard, you can always subscribe to either through Wrestling to the Max itself, and you get all of our, individual review shows that we do, and also, of course, the 2 episode parts that we do a week as well. So, you can still go listen to whether it's our Raw review or the 205 Live review that we're about to do, or the W10 Part 1, where we talked about various things, including ROH TV, Zack Sabre Jr. possibly going to New Japan as far as everything going like we think it is, and having to talk about some wrestling deaths again, sadly. But hopefully this Thursday, when we have our part 2, we won't be talking about anybody passing away, and get to talking about some cheerier things. New Japan had their Makabe anniversary thing, so perhaps if at least Paul or I get to watch it, we'll get to cover that as well. So things coming up. And
Honor Rising is this weekend too.
Oh goodness. Well,
Yeah.
lots. Damn, we're gonna be having to watch too much stuff in one
Shocker.
go.
When is that not true?
Yeah, when is... Thankfully, we don't have Flow Slam still, or we'd be really stuck on watching something all the time. But until next week, everybody, this has been the WWE Smackdown Live review. For Paul, for myself, for Gary.
If you're not living life to the max.
Yeah, we're not living life at all.
You know it.
Later, everybody.
Later.
The following podcast is a W2M Network original production. Visit W2Mnet.com for all of our other great podcasts, plus news, reviews, articles, and opinions from the worlds of wrestling, video games, football, and entertainment.